Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Robin Stebbins. Robin is a coach, keynote speaker, and host of the Medicine Girl podcast. For more than 35 years, Robin worked in the healthcare field, devoting her life to healing illness and disease. She strives to use love, compassion, authenticity, and positive intention with every encounter she has. Now, Robin works with people who are committed to removing all toxins from their energetic field, allowing the body to do what it does best, and that is heal itself. Welcome, Robin. I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so you and I are going to talk about embracing the medicine within. You are the medicine. So, Robin, just like you, I worked in the healthcare industry for, nearly 20 years, more than 15 years. And I was seeing frequent flyers. I was seeing people that were coming in with the same issues over and over, and they just didn't seem to be getting better. I was seeing a lot of sickness, a lot of pill popping, and just stuff that I knew deep down in my heart there was something more to this, because I had been on a holistic path. For at least 25 years, I've been on a holistic path. And here I am working in the healthcare industry, and I'm seeing a completely different reality. And so, I rarely get sick. I don't have health insurance, and I've never had a cavity in my life, and I'm 45 years old. So there is something to be said about healing within and how we are the medicine. So you say, Robin, you are the medicine, you are your own healer. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's really simple. And working 35 years in the healthcare industry and not having any solid medicine that would help. So I kept, like you did, what could help people? So I boiled it down. Stop the toxins, stop the poisons, get out of the way. The body heals itself 100% of the time. The trick is, and I think you'll agree, most people don't want to stop the toxins, or they don't want to do the emotional work to get rid of those toxins, or they don't want to turn off the television. It's like everyone has these little pacifiers.
Yeah, and when we talk about toxins, you're right. It's not just physical toxins. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. Yes. There's layers to the toxins that we are ingesting or taking part in every day. So let's talk about that, Robin. Let's break it down to, when we say toxins, how there's so much more to that.
There's so much more, because it's, like you said, it's not just the physical toxins, which are dizzying. When you really start to notice and are aware of your environment, it's your laundry soaps. It's, don't put anything on your skin that you wouldn't physically eat, because it goes in your bloodstream, and the stuff that they allow would blow your mind. We're talking 1,440 chemicals they allow: herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, rodenticides, all of the different phthalates and chemicals that are endocrine disruptors. We're talking in face creams and shampoos and conditioners. Then we look at laundry soaps and what our clothes are made of. Like, you got it now. All of that goes into the skin. And the older the products get, like Lululemon, I used to love wearing that. Like, the older it gets, the more friable it is, the more it can go into your skin. And then the laundry soaps and the dryer soaps and on and on. Okay, that's just physical.
Yeah.
And then we got to look at what we eat and how we drink the water. Is it structured? Is it purified? Is it living water? Okay, now we go to the next level: emotional toxins. What's going in your ear? What are you listening to? Is it the news? The news is fear-mongering, negativity. It has nothing to do really with what's going on. It's meant for you to see, to program and control you. What music are you listening to? There's a vibration to music. When we get out of different vibrations, like 4.74, and this, you have to go with what your gut says, because who knows?
You'll feel it. You'll feel
it.
Yeah.
You'll
Especially when
feel
you
what
know
it's
what
off.
the real vibration should be.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it lowers your frequency when you're listening to that. And the humans have a jingle channel. Advertisers know this. It'll get stuck in your head.
Yep.
And it will go around and around, even when you're not listening to it. Oh, here you go. There's your emotional and ear toxins. What are you looking at? This? Scrolling through somebody else's life, getting jealous, TikTok, watching violent images. That's another major source of toxins. Your brain, the limbic system of the brain, doesn't necessarily know the difference between reality, right, and what you're seeing on the screen. You're reacting to it. You're releasing the same amount of chemicals that you would if you were actually in the event. Horror movies. Are you watching human beings get mutilated? That's another toxin. And then we can go with spiritual toxins.
It really can be very overwhelming when you first start waking up to all of this. And like I said, I think you and I have been doing this for many years. It's something that we have taken our time to go through and really dive into our lives and say, okay, and I know for me, when I first started waking up to all of this, it was the physical stuff. It was the toxins that I was ingesting. What was I plugging into my wall, and how, my cat was getting sick, and all these things that were coming up for me. And then eventually it led into the energetic, and then the emotional, and then the spiritual. So I want to just say that because it can be really, you're like, especially for people who have OCD, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become.
It's impossible. Yeah, it's impossible. And then let's talk about really quickly the placebo nocebo. So I tell you, like, these are toxic, and then you get in your head.
Yes.
It's like, no, don't go down that road. It is a process, and the best way to like approach it is trust your gut.
Yes.
When we start getting back into understanding your power, your wisdom, your authentic reactions to things, and you trust that, then you can slowly start removing these out of your home. But don't go on, like you're saying, don't go into a frenzy and like, oh gosh, it's hopeless. because it, they've spent the advertisers and these narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic corporations have spent trillions of dollars slowly integrating these products into our food and water and air and everything else to keep us complacent.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I majored in advertising public relations, so I'm very knowledgeable about subliminal messaging and the subconscious mind, right? And so even if you're watching a program and then a commercial comes on, whether you're even paying attention to that commercial, you'll notice the volume will go up because it's drawing your attention to it. So we are getting hit, even if you don't think you're getting hit with subconscious and subliminal messages all the time. And that's even when you're out grocery shopping, just looking at the packaging and print and things like that. There's a lot of money that goes into how to get you to buy, right?
Yeah.
To get you to pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah. And the subliminal stuff is epic now. I mean, they knew about this stuff. I took a commercial art class in 1987. And I was going to go into commercial art instead of nursing. And I didn't, because I thought, this is dark. And this is 1987.
Yeah.
So they've made some serious advances since then. And the subliminal stuff they do because it works. Yeah. So the other thing they love to have you do is distracted on your phone, scrolling with a bottle of beer or glass of wine in your hand, because then you are connected to it. Mm-hmm. They look at your eye movements to see, then they will tell you they know you better than you know yourself. You have to get out of the distractions, and then your body will light up if it's a yes, and it will tell you if it's a poison.
Yeah, because you'll start to sense it. I know when I started going clean, the moment I would put something in my body or on my body that wasn't, my body was like, it would break out in a rash, or I would get nauseous. And I'm like, I can't eat that. There's something in it that's really bothering me.
Yeah. Well, I call us now, like when you're clean, you're more sensitive. And so some people are like, well, no, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because I don't want to be like you, not be able to eat this stuff. It's like, you're all getting sick. We're the canaries in the mine shaft now. We're the ones that will experience the symptoms first and tell you like, no, don't eat that. You'll regret it.
It's so true.
When your body's so used to dealing with 911 calls, you know, it's like you launch these immune responses, if you believe even we have an immune system at this point, but you launch this inflammatory response over and over and over, you can't keep up with it anymore. So that's when toxins and these poisons start to poison, because your body can't effectively deal with them.
Yeah, because you'll get to a certain point where, you can keep ingesting the toxins and keep doing that, but you'll get to a certain point where it will manifest into illness, disease, or even cancer, you know, for that matter. So let's talk about that, Robin. Is it possible to heal from any disease state?
I believe so, yes. And I have seen it happen over and over. I still work in healthcare, believe it or not. I do a lot of hospice care, and I'm a horrible hospice nurse because all of my patients get better. Because when I ask them,
spontaneous remission.
Lo and behold, number one thing they do is they get off all their prescription drugs. So just that alone, you'll start to do significantly better. Then I have them just say, do you want to heal? That's a big question. Some people are ready to go, and that I fully support whatever you choose, how you want to go, whatever it is. But those that say, no, I'm not ready and I'm starting to feel better, we kind of do a systems approach. Like we become medical detectives together, not me as the expert. That's another point. No one is an expert on you, but you. There's no white coat gods, not me, not any other health expert that you've fallen in love with, only you. So then we become these medical detectives and try and figure out, where did that disease place start from? It's like, when you're weeding in the garden, you pull out the tap root, but there's all those other not as significant roots. You got to get them all, or that weed's going to keep coming back up. These issues will keep coming back up. So you look at the emotional roots, you look at obviously the physical. Usually we do things to help alkalinize the blood, simple things like a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda twice a day.
So simple.
Or, waking up and having lemon juice with a little sea salt. That's the other thing, everyone's been told, don't eat salt. It's like, I tell them, no, you can have salt, just make sure it's the good kind.
It's the right salt. Yeah. It's the right salt. Yeah.
You got to find the right
I think that
salt.
was part of it too, is I had a friend who was, well, I'm taking salt every day and it's got iodine in it. I'm like, well, you're taking the wrong salt. You want to make sure you're doing the real salt, or the sea salt, or the Himalayan salt, or, so definitely, if you're not familiar with the salts, research that, guys. Get out there and learn about it.
So like crude oil production creates this byproduct, which is the salt usually that we're buying, and then they bleach it and they put iodine in it. Iodine can physically damage your thyroid if you get too much of it. And it just pains me to see functional medicine doctors like telling people to take iodine tablets. That can absolutely throw the thyroid into hypo or hyper. So it's like,
because you need to, if you really research into that, you need to understand that the mides, the bromide, the chloride, all of those play a role in it. And those were all eliminated from our food sources back in the 40s and 50s. And then now they're introducing it into things like white salt, just table salt. Yeah. So once you go down that rabbit hole, there's a lot of information that, and I think you and I obviously have been down that rabbit hole before, because you know, for me, thyroid was running in, well, at the time I thought thyroid was running in my family, but then I realized there's nothing running in my family. It's, you know,
Yeah, thank you for
I
saying that.
can stop that, you know? And so I started to learn about Sole, which is, you know, the salt mixtures, and then, you know, the iodine, and then the selenium, and, you know, there's all these things. But then I got to a point like, okay, the thyroid's in the throat chakra. Let's work with the energetic body.
Always, yeah.
So it's really a layered system. And I think you and I have been our own guinea pigs, is what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here sharing this information, you know, with people that, hey, you don't have to go down this long and windy road like me and Robin have been down. But
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. And it's very specific. Like, yeah, if you have throat issues, usually you always talk about, well, have you wanted to say but didn't say, or is there things that you know it's hard to swallow? You just kind of get to the root and you work with that person together. But yeah, you're right. Doing all these things, reading. I mean, I've probably got 20,000 hours in the last 35 years of research and podcasts and books over and over. And the more you learn, it's like, again, I'm back to the same place I started from. The body heals itself.
Yes.
The body will always find that natural state of harmony if we stop poisoning it. And I have only one rule so far, is you don't mess with Mother Nature. You don't cut up plants and take out the chemical chain in it and make a drug and say, here's your medicine. The plants have everything that you need in totality.
In that organic form. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you want to do cannabis, you know, I'm not against the smoking aspect of it if it's done with intention. You know, wake and bake and smoking every night, that's not done with intention. And we don't need to do something, you know, every single night. Then it's become a habit or some kind of problem that you're using to, you know, fix a feeling, create a feeling, resolve a feeling. That's stuff you need to do on your own. And then this would be for a different intention, for healing or.
I agree with that, Robin, because I too, you know, I didn't really dabble much in that, but I began to recognize that once you begin to heal and raise your frequency or expand your consciousness, you don't need that, you know, to get there. We can get there through meditation, through breath work. There's other ways, you know, naturally. And yes, cannabis, yes, it's a natural plant, you know, alternative, but there's ways that you can get there once you start doing the inner work.
Yeah.
And I find myself almost in a heightened state regularly just through my meditative work and just, you know, listening to solfeggio frequencies. We talked about sound and how the, you know, certain sounds and certain octaves and certain, you know, resonance, you know, plays out into our bodies, and just listening to 528 hertz or 932 hertz or different ones will get me into these heightened states of awareness. And we don't always have to utilize the cannabis to do that. And I call those training wheels, Robin. It's like, you know, it's kind of the initial stages to when you really do start expanding your consciousness. You don't even need those crystals. I think crystals are training wheels, and, you know, there's all these things that help us get there. But then once we get there, we realize it's all within us. It's all within us. Yeah.
That I love that. That's the point. And, you know, a lot of times it is the Morpheus, the red pill or the blue pill. They're just these objects. They're both sugar pills and they're both identical. It's that you believe that this is helping you cross certain and transcend certain areas. And you're 100% right. We have the receptors in our brain for cannabis and ayahuasca and iboga right now, which means that you don't need a substance to activate them. You can activate them with their mind. They have shown that countless times with the placebo and the nocebo. Like, it works.
Robin, let's talk about that, because, you know, you talk about how we can lose our diagnoses. And I talk about this a lot too, how, you know, and I would see this in the hospital, you know, the white coats would tell, you know, people that you have this diagnosis, and then it was the end all be all. And they believed this till their dying day, you know, that this was their diagnoses. And for me, I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe in a diagnosis. And I even just did a show on ascension symptoms because I think that's a spiritual diagnosis, So, we look at
We so are in alignment. You are so rare. I don't know if you realize that, because so many people get lost as you're awakening in, the counterintelligence or the psyops or just the spiritual bypass.
Yes.
And that's another one. It's like, I just can't function today because my Akashic records have this and, this trauma.
Yes.
And I hear people lead with that. It's like, no, it's not meant to just keep you under like the diagnosis, the ADHD, or you have major depression or you're bipolar. No,
you're not. You're perfect. You're a divine being, right? So
yes.
we need to align with that. We are aligned with that. It's just a matter of working through our limited belief system around that. And I think, I feel that that's been part of my healing journey is I just don't attach to any of those diagnoses, even when I had it's funny. I went to the doctor. I had a lot of pain in my body years ago when I was working in organ donation. I was working with grieving families and I was just taking on a lot of their energy. Well, at the time I didn't realize that I was even empathic. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I had such severe pain. It would take me at least 30 minutes in the morning just to get out of bed because I had to crawl to the bathroom. I felt paralyzed in my lower back. It was terrible.
Wow.
So I'd go to the doctor. They tell me I had fibromyalgia. I wouldn't believe it. I said, no, there's something else going on. It's a mineral deficiency. It's something. I'm going to guinea pig it and I'm going to figure out what it was. Well, I ended up figuring out it was heavy metals is what it was, and energy. So it was the energetic imprints I was picking up from the families that I was literally carrying their grief and pain, their lack of support in my back. Then when I started doing physical cleansing, parasite, heavy metals, toxins, boom, magically I felt better. And so I think it's very layered. It's very, our physical body takes longer to manifest things, but that's when we recognize it is we're like, okay, I've been manifesting this energetically for a whole long time, right? But now it's showing up in my lower back. So we're programmed as a society to immediately go to the physical, right? Where we know as we begin to work in the energetic, there's a quantum, right? We can work in the quantum fields and we can heal things, outside of our physical realm. But oftentimes when we're just waking up, this is all we know, this body, right? This avatar.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. There's a couple of things that I really want to point out too. What you said was brilliant is, Keith Mitchell, I interviewed him for one of my podcasts. He's an NFL football player, really cocky, and he got knocked out on the field, paralyzed. The doctor walks in and says, hey, you're never going to walk again. And he, because he's so cocky, was like, who are you to diagnose me with anything? I will not give you that power. But I love that he said that. And we should say that to everyone, and again, to go back a little bit earlier, when you said, people become their diagnosis. The doctor says you have 6 months to live. Lo and behold, they lived 6 months. They believed it. That's what this is all about. If you believe the diagnosis, you become it. You become the label. And a lot of times they become so attached to it, becomes their identity. Then when we looked at, when you said like your low back, you have to look at the roots of it. Yeah, okay, you believe it's fibromyalgia. They make up these words because they're a diagnosis code to take a drug for, so they can write a prescription with that diagnosis code. That's the only reason these words even exist in our vernacular. They're not real. So get that out of your head right now. ADHD is not real. You don't expect a child to sit for 6 hours in kindergarten and not go crazy. No, that's a normal child.
ADHD are kids that are highly intuitive and they're tuning into the subtle realms, outside of the physical. They're just very like, wow, I can see things outside of what the normal physical 3D reality is. Yeah.
Yes, exactly what it is. They're normal children having a normal reaction. And then what we are so programmed as a society to do is take a pill. So you, like your back pain, here's your fibromyalgia, here's your opioids for pain, and here's muscle relaxants and da. Or what the functional medicine, well, let's kill your parasites. Let's do some chelation. That can make you even more sick. When you kill parasites, they have heavy metals in them. If you do it all at once, like ivermectin, it's a very dangerous drug.
I think what Rob and I, we aren't here to just complain about pharmaceuticals. We aren't here to complain about, traditional medicine, but the reality is we're just really getting to the point that every single thing you need is within you, right? And so we, in order for us to get to that point, we have to kind of paint a picture of what we have been programmed to believe, right? Since the day we were born. And now many of us are unprogramming those programs. You can even raise the frequency of your food. There's a reason why people pray over their food, right? Because it raises the frequency. So I've done this for years. I even have purple Tesla plates here laying around. I mean, these are things that I've been doing for years, but we can still, yes, this is a training, another training wheel, but yet we can pray over our food, raise its frequency, infuse it with all the nutrients, all the minerals that our bodies need. And with every bite, we are infused with these minerals and these nutrients. And so, if for those of you out there who are dabbling in the quantum, you're working in energy and you're working with belief systems, you can 100% do that and you will feel a difference. It's like Reiki, you are bringing that energy within you because we are energetic beings and we have the capabilities to do this. But a lot of it is overcoming the limited belief system that we have been programmed to have, that we can't do this, right? Because we have all of these abilities. And, I say, I'm always working on my telepathy, my telekinesis, all these other abilities. We all have them. It's a matter of overcoming the belief systems that we don't have these abilities. And so, I think you and we talk a lot about, listening to our intuition, listening to our body, because if I'm craving oranges, there's a reason. I'm having a deficiency. I need some vitamin C, or maybe I'm feeling I need the sunshine. The orange looks like a sun, I mean, I don't know, but
that's it. And the intuition, like I would always eat the pith between, the white stuff and the orange or the grapefruit. And I could not get enough of it. Well, turns out that pectin helps take out heavy metals. Again, if you are in harmony with your body and you actually listen to it, like if you keep being mean to yourself and you're like, no, I'm not having oranges because this doctor told me they're bad for me and my diabetes or whatever, then you will eventually, your body will just stop giving you messages because it's like, well, you're not listening anyway, so forget it.
But it'll give you messages. It'll just be more intense, right?
Yeah. Well, it can be until eventually, it will stop. It will stop until you start listening and paying attention and then acting on those messages.
Yeah.
Like, I'm craving oranges, eat some oranges. It gets to be that simple. And you can, when you are eating your food as medicine, and that's what it is. It's energy. It's light. We're light eating light.
It is.
That's what we're doing.
Force energy. And it's bringing life force into every single thing you do, right? Into the food you eat, into the interactions you have with people, into this show, everything, bringing life force into it. And when we do that, we expand our own light, when we do that. And, all of the things that we've been programmed have been meant to hold us and anchor us in to the lower dimensions, right? Into those lower states of existence. Well, part of this earth school that we're here, on is to learn how to transcend that. And oftentimes it starts out with a physical. It does. It starts out with, okay, how can I physically heal my body? And then, okay, what's next? How do I emotionally heal my body? Okay. Or how do I heal energetically? Okay, what's next? Now spiritually, where am I at? And you may find this cycle of things because you have to tend to your physical body, even if you're working out here in the energetic field, because we're still in our physical body, right? But it's just, it's this beautiful balance.
But it's also having that same reverence. I hear spiritual community refer to as a meat suit.
Yeah, I hate
that. It's like, no, it's all one of the same. Like you can't separate this from the energetic body. My heartbeat, you can measure with our rudimentary measurements, 8 feet outside of the body. That means that we go on huge vast energetic spaces. And when we like circling back to what you're talking about, praying into your food, you can physically change the structure of your food. Veda Austin is a good place to start because her work with water will show you physically how water responds to your thoughts, to images. We are interacting like we are structured water. Most of us is this structured water, and we're communicating with our environment that is one of all connected to us as structured water. So you absolutely can change the quality, the structure of your food. You can grow your own food and ask the plants to grow for what your body needs. They will. You can have these interactions with things that you start to like, wow, this is an amazing world. Maybe I don't need to drink a 6-pack of beer or Pepsi, to give me a happy feeling. Maybe I can start seeing how cool this world really is when when we look up from our devices and from our horrible lifestyles of, work and drive and do this and that. And as we're rushing around, life isn't fun anymore.
It's so true. And once you begin to open your eyes to the magic of how we really do have the capability and the ability to create our own reality, it is so fun. It is so fun. And
it is.
You're like, I'm going to put my hand over this, avocado that looks like it's kind of on the edge of rotting. And I'm going to see if I can bring this thing back, know, and I'm like, I saw a little green on there. It's getting a little, so, once you start to recognize that we have these abilities, it's just overcoming the belief system. Cause I'm sure there's someone out there who believes they can put their hand over an avocado and have it go from, rotting to ripe. I'm sure there's someone out there, Jesus,
yeah.
Do that,
no,
right?
and that's that Christ consciousness of the energy. And then also, since we're talking about plants, you can get into things. I don't know if you've heard of electroculture gardening.
No, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it's a technique of gardening, harnessing in the ethers. So you simply, and it's very inexpensive, this is why they don't want you to know about it. You take like a copper wire, doesn't necessarily have to be a certain gauge. You wrap it around a stick and you put it in your garden. And you can do tests on it. And I did this with 4 celery plants. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I put the electroculture, just a stick with wire wrapped around it between these 2, and the other 2 I didn't. Boom. 3 times as big as my other celery plants.
So that is orgone energy. That's organite, kind of what you're creating. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can make you can bury in the soil. You get I think it's steel or maybe galvanized steel. You put a magnet on the other end dipped in beeswax, and you run it exactly. You can't use your phone as a compass because they lie to us.
Yeah.
But you got to get an actual compass. Then you plant this north to south. You put the magnet on the south end and the galvanized rod. And we're talking like you're spending $10.
Yeah, I'm saying this is cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. And you bury it in your garden beds, and lo and behold, you have brought in that energy and that fertilizer into the soil, making it a living soil. And we have depleted our soil so much that this is an inexpensive way. You don't have to get toxic fertilizers. And then you can use fertilizers that actually make sense. Like, just go get some pond water and pour it on your plants, or get a little 20 mule team borax, because it's sprinkle that in, or there's deficient in boron, but your intuition will tell you what your soil needs. You don't have to go crazy and read all these books and try and play catch up. Your body will tell you.
Yeah, as a pendulum, you can use it. That's what I muscle test all the time. I don't have to all the time because I intuitively pick up on it, but yet again, another training wheel, or offering a lot of training wheels today. But listen to your body. I swear, my dad and my grandmother lived to be 91 with very minimal ailments, and she didn't have a single gray hair on her head. And my dad and I were just talking about the other day, we think it's because of the copper pipes in her old farm home, because copper, when you have a copper deficiency, your hair will gray. And so it's kind of funny you mentioned the copper. There's copper is so, I mean, you look back to the ancient Egyptians, they were using copper, so for some reason, we've been guided away, from.
Well, we've been guided away because your soil's deficient. And let's be honest, we outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1. So you don't want your slaves robust and healthy and tapped into their power and their intuition. You want them sick, weak, dependent. So you use iron tools that is very hard to grow food. You use copper everything, copper spade, copper shovels. You have made your gardens living gardens. And that's what electroculture is. You can buy the pyramids. They are similar to like the Giza pyramid, the Sun Moon pyramid. They'll make them the same angle. So you can just you can go to the hardware store and get your own copper piping and then add it to these pyramids, and you can make them as big as you want. I think up to 8 feet. And you store food, like my copper bowl right there that I store food in doesn't go bad.
Yeah, and it'll last. And that's how these Tesla purple plates are too. They're made from chi, life force energy. And, I've got a bigger one, but you place your food on it and those bananas will last for months on that thing, And so it's all the same concept. And Tesla was obviously tuned in, to all of this. And many of us are, remembering, because we all have this knowledge within. We're just remembering that we have this knowledge within. And I'll have those aha moments where, gosh, I knew this back in my past life in ancient Egypt. I used to do this and I know this. And then I'm messing around with something and people are like, how did you know to do that? I said, because I've done this before and I just know how to do this. And so, when we say we have it with the information within, it's all within.
You're so right. And we're not two special women that somehow, we're the chosen ones. No, we all have this. And I mean, every single person has this wired into them. You just have to stop getting yourself so distracted and listen to your voice, your heart, your gut. It will tell you. And that's it. People always ask me, like, how did you get into electroculture? I can't tell you. I don't have the foggiest notion how that came into my awareness. But once I did, it was like, boom, let's go. This is it. I know this is it. All other stuff, it's like we were, inputting millions of variables throughout the day. You pay attention to a few. Which ones are you paying attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. And which ones feel good? I think, when I'm around my copper and my, the life force and all these, I'm like, I've got my music, my 528 hertz playing. I can tell my cat is out like a light. He is purring. He's happy.
Yes.
I feel amazing. And I think, in order to be able to tune into some of this, we do have to eliminate the toxins in our body. We have to start peeling away those layers. It is so helpful, to be able to do that. Not saying that you can't, tune into those higher states if, you're sitting around eating 20 bags of Cheetos every day. It is what it is. But it's a belief, right? It's all a belief system. So
it is.
I think that the whole moral of this show is everything is a belief system and you can always change your belief systems, right?
Yeah. Well, and then when you start to understand, like, it is all belief. Like if I had to survive and thrive off eating off-brand Cheetos puffs,
I just raise their frequency.
I could raise their frequency, but I don't want to because I look at the vibration of it. And I'm having to raise and work hard on my vibration to equalize that vibration instead of, using things that are of equal frequency or a higher vibration like these plants can be into your body. And then it's like, wow, that's an epic feeling. Like just eating a salad out of my garden that I go down and cut and talk to the plants and say, I don't want to overdo it with the leaves and, kill the plant. They'll tell you too. And it's not like they're speaking English and like, eat the third, fourth plant. Like people want to intellectualize it. No, it's just a feeling that you have 1, 2, 3 plants, leaves off that, go to the next one, 1, 2 off of that one, go to the next one. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just a natural rhythm that you start to get into. And that's how you heal the body too, so that you're not in any disease states.
Yeah. And you too, when you're creating your own garden, or whether, I love farmers markets, I love just intermingling around them, talking to the people, you know, and it makes me feel good. And when I get home, I cleanse my fruit, I set intentions over them. And, you know, whether you're doing that or you're gardening, you know, you're putting positive, loving energy into the food. And love is one highest frequency,
Yes.
you know, so when you're putting that beautiful energy into what you're eating, then you're eating life force, you know, and bringing that
I
within.
like that. Yeah, you are. And you're raising your vibration. And when you're talking to people at the farmers market, if your frequency is high, you're raising their frequency. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to convince anybody of anything. You're just talking to them and showing and connecting on a love vibration. That's all it is. Very, very simple.
It really is. And I love that you brought that up, because I see that a lot in the spiritual community is, I got to go out and activate everyone. No, just be you, be your frequency.
Yes.
And those who are meant to attract will, and those who are meant to repel will. And, you know, everything is harmony. Everything is harmonizing. So, you know, whether you're activating or triggering, you know, people, the reality is you're attracting that back. So if you're saying, I'm going to go out and trigger people to wake them up, then you're just triggering yourself to wake yourself up, because we are all connected, right? So it's like, why would you want to go out and trigger and upset someone when it's just going to come right back to you? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I think that's silly, but you know, I think this is part of the process of us expanding our consciousness. We go through these, you know, and I know in this linear, we go through these levels or these tiers, kind of like a video game is kind of how I, you know, visualize it. But it's like, you have these moments of, wow, you know, even I look back at when I thought I was really awakened, you know, and I'm like, wow, I was really in my ego then. And I'm sure I'm still am now. And there'll be a time when I look back at this and say, wow, you know, so
I hope so. I hope so, because that means you're growing. I don't want to look back at myself, you know, 10 years from now and think, wow, you know, I'm exactly the same. No, I want to be embarrassed at some of the ideas I had. That's part of growth. That's how we learn. We make these mistakes. We act foolish. And I want to also just drive home that point of the awakening community saying like, oh, I want to give everyone ayahuasca or put it in the water. It's like, that's what they're doing to us.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. If you're not ready for ayahuasca, that is the last thing on the planet that you should be putting in your body. It is not meant to be for everyone. And again, it's like, okay, I want a training wheel. You're ready to wake up. You take the training wheel. You're given the choice to take it. That is where I believe all of the centers around, we need to have that choice. We have to have the information. And part of, you know, circling back to this whole thing, it's like when you're awakening to your truth, your power, you don't listen or need anyone else.
No, you don't. And I have done shows on this, how I have been very guided to spend time alone and kind of cut some people out of my life. And a lot of it is because I'm reestablishing new belief systems. I feel like I'm expanding my awareness more, and I can tune into my intuition and my energy a lot easier when I don't have the energy of everyone kind of bombarding me around me. And, you know, even though I've cut out the news and all of these things years ago, the people, the 5 closest people that you hang out with the most are the ones who can also infiltrate your belief system as well. And I think it's healthy for us to take a step back from time to time and reassess, you know, am I creating beliefs that might be others' beliefs that I don't even believe in anymore? Especially as we're awakening, because many of us, you know, I'm constantly working on myself and releasing stuff like almost daily, literally daily.
Same.
And so I'm expanding my consciousness really fast, and I don't expect anyone to keep up with me, nor do I expect to keep up with anyone else. I'm just doing my thing, you know? And so, but I think that's a good point that you brought up, is that don't rely on things outside of yourself. Go within. And that's what this whole talk is about. You know, go within. And it would be really nice to get to a point one day where I have no belief systems. I mean, I can only imagine what that would feel like, is you're just like, I don't believe in anything. I'm just the void, or, you know, I'm everything and I'm nothing, you know,
and we will get to that point. You know, as a hospice nurse, I have glimpsed because, you know, you can feel that energy as someone's transcending.
Yeah,
And I
shared death
glimpse that.
experiences. I used to have those a lot. Yeah. Mhm.
And so you become everything and nothing matters, but then I'm not growing in that moment and I'm not growing in that field because I'm here in this earthly body. I'm meant to be here to be challenged, to be disrupted, to be embarrassed, to feel the guilt, to feel the shame, to move past of these things, because that is what we're after. We're after a yin and a yang. We're after the whole coin. I think small self and a lot of the community that is awakening wants heaven. They want love and light and bliss. And what you have to realize is that it becomes the opposite. It becomes hell,
Mhm.
because that is not sustainable.
Because
You
feel
have to have the
detached from the love
contrast.
and the light and the bliss. Yeah.
You have to have the contrast of, you know, like today I was on doing my prayers and just started crying and felt, you know, the sadness of all of this and frustration. It felt beautiful though, because it was a release.
It's funny. I had that too, Robin. I was just sitting there this morning doing my prayers and I just had this burst of tears come over me, and I didn't question it or judge it. I just let it flow. And I think
Yeah.
it feels good. A
Yeah.
release feels good. And it feels like a relief, you know, it's like,
Yeah. It feels like a
just let
relief.
something go.
And it feels like, to me, harmony.
Yeah.
And not too attached to any one of the mechanisms that's occurring. Like if I'm feeling a release of tears, enjoy it in this moment. That's what it is. And then not to attach like, oh, every time I do my prayers in the morning, I should feel this sense of overwhelming relief. And no, be in the moment and see what's coming up. And sometimes it's just mundane, and dear God, thank you for like this blessing in my life. Blah, 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 blah. That's okay too.
Hey, that's
okay
okay, because that means you've programmed the subconscious to
Yeah.
be in that state, you know, of
Yeah.
awareness. And I'm sure there'll come a time down the road where you'll have a new prayer and you're like, okay, now here's my new prayer. And
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as you're like, it's almost like you're just continuing to be in that wave. You're surfing on this wave. Sometimes you're in the trough of the wave. It's not as fun, but you will always move like water. We are structured water. Water is always in motion. If it's stagnant, it creates death and decay. So as we're moving, like just enjoy the phase of the wave that you're in that moment. Because it will change. It will change no matter what.
it
In the
will.
good phase, don't attach to the crest of the wave. Like, oh, this is so amazing. I'll do anything to stay here. That's where we get addictions
Mhm.
and attachments to outcomes. And then you become not so fun to be around.
Yeah. And it all kind of reminds me of the Karate Kid. You know, when we watched the Karate Kid back in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was out, when Mr. Miyagi taught him, you know, wax on, wax off. And then he's like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to wax your car all the time? And what he was really teaching him was the technique. And so when we say training wheels, it's basically that, you know, all of these techniques that we have used to get us to the point of mastery. And when he, you know, gets to the point where he does, you know, goes to the karate finals or whatever, he knows what wax on, wax off is a technique that is now in his subconscious, and he automatically does it. And so, you know, that's what the tuning forks. I do resonant tuning. I actually listen to it and then hum to the frequency. Well, now oftentimes, because I speak light language, comes out and it will come to that certain resonance or that frequency. So it's like I have been tuning myself to the resonance. And, you know, that's just another training wheel to get us there.
Yeah.
So eventually that'll be in my subconscious where I won't have to continue to train. And I've heard that with people with meditation. They're like, I don't need to meditate as much anymore. It's because it's become a part of you. You are being in that, you know, now.
And that's it. We initially need rules and structure and devices and, you know, medicines, whatever we deem as medicine. And eventually you realize it becomes this harmonic pattern with your body, with your spirit, with everything, and with your interactions with people. You start realizing you don't need to cut people out of your life. You've changed their frequency. You're not bothered by them anymore.
Mhm.
So they're not triggered by you. There's no disharmony. There's no place for disease. That's where disease starts. It's like a disharmony with yourself and nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so
And it's just as simple to get back to the harmony.
It is. And that's what the whole universe is. It's balancing and balancing itself out.
Yeah.
It's always harmonizing. And so, yeah, this has been a really rich conversation, Robin. I had all these questions, and honestly, I feel like we touched a lot of really deep things here. And I think that this is going to be, a lot of information for some people if you aren't really open or haven't even explored, some of the areas that we talked about. Then we gave you a lot of rabbit holes to go down today.
We did. We sure did.
Have fun. Go
Yeah.
check it out.
Go for it. We went, yeah, we got some good places there.
I mean, I love rabbit holes. I mean, I don't feel like I need to be down them all the time, but I do enjoy them every now and then. They come to me and I'm like, oh, I need to dabble in that a little bit and see.
Yeah, no, they absolutely can be fun in balance.
They can be fun in balance. And I think it's like, because I think right now a lot of people are in the conspiracy rabbit hole, and I was there. And every now and then I'll look down at, hey guys, how you doing down there? And I'll look, oh, what's going on in there? Okay, I'm good, so I think, and I can kind of sense where people are in their journey, because I was there too. My parents are in that right now. So it's kind of fun to watch them just waking up to, wow, there's a lot of betrayal that's been going on in the world. And, and it's neat to see my dad wanting to look at holistic things. And it's neat to see my mom, because my mom was not into any of that. So for me, it's just been really exciting, and I haven't had to force anything on them. And I think that's important, is like you had mentioned, don't force your belief systems on people, because we're all at different frequencies.
We're all at different frequencies. And quite frankly, we don't know that we're right.
Exactly.
This is just where we are right now.
Exactly. In this now moment.
It's like, let me break it down to you
differently.
Yeah. And the only thing I keep telling people is like, trust yourself, listen to your voice. If you can't hear your voice, start doing things like grounding, take your shoes off in raw nature, not in herbicides and fertilizers, but in like find some raw, undisturbed nature.
Like my picture behind me here, this beautiful Idaho.
I could just picture bare feet, and you can do it. If you are locked in an apartment building and you can't get outside, you can picture it, and you will be there.
Yeah.
Because like we said before, your body, your limbic system doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. So you can physically be there, and I can just feel the moss behind you squishing through my toes, charging that beautiful Idaho
of the evergreen trees.
Yes.
Hey, even if you're inside and you can't get out, turn on a nice YouTube channel, 528 hertz with beautiful scenery. That's what I do sometimes. It's like in the winter months, it's like, okay, I've got a good frequency playing, and it's just rolling through beautiful landscapes. And I'm like, oh, where's that? I want to go visit there. That looks beautiful. And it gets my subconscious mind out of being trapped inside, it allows me to see nature, because like you said, our subconscious doesn't know if something is real or not. It's really just basing it off of how we feel and the images that are coming in, to our mind. And so if you're seeing a beautiful scenery on television and you're feeling that, like you're there, your subconscious thinks you're there,
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. And like the lowest common denominator of everything that we've said is just that everything is within.
It is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good way to end it. So Robin, tell us a little bit about the services that you provide and how people can connect with you.
Well, just find my website is Purify Within, or you can find it by my name, Robin Stebbins. But the services I provide is we look at where you are right now and what your goals are, because everyone's different, and I want to meet you where you are. And then we look at simple ways to purify your microbiome, your macrobiome, your house, your energy, really simple things that don't cost a lot of money, because I don't want that. Like you have to buy, people can go crazy with biohacking and all these things. Like it's simple things like taking your shoes off every day for 20 minutes and just grounding. And it's not just grounding, it's recharging. This planet, whatever, shape it is an energy station. So not only will it take your excess energy as fertilizer, what you need to ground, and it could be spiritual toxins and emotional toxins, it will take them as fertilizer. Mm-hmm. And then you can re-upcharge with that energy also. So that's what we do. It's really simple. And we look at, if you're on a lot of prescription drugs, we slowly tick them off, working with your physician. They don't like to do it. I know, but I know how to work with them, and I know how to, give the person books to read. And once they start reading and they start understanding, and it's like, boom, they've taken over for themselves.
Yes. And
that's what I want.
Is a beautiful thing to see, because we can sit here and plant seeds and plant seeds and plant seeds, but until they start to grow, that little sprout within, there's nothing we can do about it, and it's so nice to see someone take it and say, okay, I'm actually grasping this now, and I'm ready to move forward on my own account, not just sitting here listening to someone telling me, that I should do this.
And that's, that's your training wheels at first. It's like, listen to those that resonate with you, but understanding that they do not have more wisdom than you do. Mm-hmm. They do not have more knowledge than you do. Like, we might have studied different things so we can share information, but that means it's a shared level ground.
Absolutely.
I'm not creating a hierarchy. I don't want you to have to go in the store with a little Robin on your shoulder telling you what to buy. No, I want to be obsolete in your life. There's plenty of people to work with out there that I want to be obsolete and just go in and we can figure out if you're in disease, if you're in illness, anything can be released.
Absolutely. I love how you have the healthcare background too, so you can assist people with weaning off of the medications, because I would be sending them to you, because I don't feel that I have that strength, or even that knowledge base to be able to do that. Yes, I worked in healthcare, but it's kind of nice to have someone that if I have clients that I can say, hey, why don't you go check out Robin, go see if she can, help assist you with weaning off of medications, because that is an area that some people, they're scared. That's a scary thing to do. Right.
Yeah. It can be really scary, especially when it's the benzodiazepines, which I get a lot of people on benzodiazepines that are addicted, or any of the psychotropics or antidepressants. There's a lot of fear in leaving those behind. So a lot of that is what we work on is finding the truth out of what they are, and just the act of reading about what these things truly do can help you completely sever ties with them, and then they don't work anyway.
Yeah, because it's like overcoming the fear of what's going to happen if I stop taking these.
Yeah. And that's where the work starts to begin. Is like seeing yourself as the true person that you are, the authentic, real person, that then you can ask, what is my potential if I'm not toxified, poisoned in any way?
Yeah. How do I see myself with my perfect divine blueprint?
Yeah.
Right? Like completely activated and completely running, which it is, but we have all these layers of beliefs, all these layers.
That's right. But then when you are activated, you can have these amazing conversations like you and I just did.
Yeah. Robin, this was a really fun conversation. I know we touched on some heavy topics and some light topics, and that's fun. I love that, because that's what my whole channel is about, is learning how to tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. And when I found you, I was like, oh, you are right on my wavelength. Like, I would love to have you on my show and be able to have a dialogue about this, because especially with you being in healthcare and me being, had been in healthcare, I think it's important, because I know for a fact there are more people like us in healthcare who are beginning to see that, maybe what I've learned is not working anymore. And how can I help? How can I do things differently? So if we planted some seeds in some people on this show today, then, take that seed and run with it, guys. Get out there and sprout. You're not alone. You're not alone. And if there's anything that Robin and I wanted to send a message out today, it's that. And you have everything within inside of you. So Robin, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time and your energy that you brought.
Well, and thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say thank you for being in the planet at the same time I am, because it raises my vibration when somebody is able to understand what I'm talking about. You're not spending your whole conversation explaining.
Even if we get no views on this video and you and I had a great conversation, I'm totally okay with that. Like, that's amazing.
Exactly. So thank you so much for your energy and what you're doing and your show. It's brilliant. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And it's right back at you.
Thank you, my dear.
You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.